morning. At this time, I would like to welcome you all to the City of Everett's annual Veterans Day celebration. This year's celebration is also marked by the 100th anniversary of both Armistice Day and the end of World War II. One.
You get low, Gina.
That's not good if I'm starting to mess up now. Most importantly, I welcome all of our veterans who are here with us today. You will always be our heroes. I ask all in attendance to join me in giving a loud round of applause to our heroes, our veterans that are here today. Please join me. At this time, I'd also like to introduce the following dignitaries who are seated here on the stage with me. To my left, our state rep, Joe McGonigal. Next up, who will serve as our keynote speaker, and I'm certainly delighted to welcome him here to Everett, is Brigadier General James Voss. Next to him is Everett's own Command Sergeant Major Thomas Ardita. And our very own Bishop Brown, who will say the prayers for this event today. Thank you, Bishop. I'd also like to introduce Senator DiDomenico. Senator, did you join us? Senator, come on up. Okay. I'd also like to acknowledge Mayor Carla Di Maria. And our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Frederick F. Forrester. I would also like to acknowledge our elected officials who are here with us today. We have Council President Peter Napolitano, Councilor Hanlon, Councilor DePiero, Councilor Marchese, Councilor Richard Della Sola, Councilor Matusky, Councilor Capone, Councilor McLaughlin, our city clerk, Sergio Panilio, is also here with us today. And I'd also like to acknowledge one of Everett's very own heroes and member of the school committee, Lester McLaughlin. Did I miss anybody? And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our police and fire honor guards. As many of you may know, there are also many of them are veterans, and so we want to thank you for all you do to keep our community safe each and every day. Thank you. And make no mistake about it, it takes a village to put this event together. So I would like to thank our Everett High School band, led by Gene O'Brien and Charlie Poole, and of course Penny Yeber is always right there at the helm. Everett High School culinary department students who prepared the delicious pasta dinner that I hope you all can stay and enjoy. Our Department of Public Works, our facilities team, our communications team, which includes Everett Community Television, and my co-workers here at the Conley Center, who volunteered this day off, to help us make sure this event is a success. And I'd be in trouble if I didn't say this one. And a big shout out to Veterans Agent Jerry Miranda. Jerry has served this community, and especially the veteran community, for over 20 years. And I personally cannot thank her enough for all she does each and every day. Thank you, Jerry. And moving right along, I would ask you all to please stand as I invite Bishop Brown to come forward for the purposes of leading us all in prayer. Bishop Brown.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Eternal God, in the name of thy Son, Jesus, we're grateful again to come to honor our veterans who have sacrificed themselves on behalf of our country. We realize that this is no small task. We also realize that there's much that goes with being part of our military, which one never ever loses. But if it had not been for the mindset of these men and women who unselfishly have given up themselves and still do, we say thank you. We're also mindful of the men and women across this nation and around the world who serve in military units, whether Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine, or Coast Guard. Our prayer is that you will keep them safe as they are trying to keep us safe. We thank you for a nation that continues to grow, and a nation that is strong, and a nation that is concerned not only for ourselves but for others. And so we find it not robbery in our spirit of thanksgiving, but most of all we thank you because you are the protector of all of us. You're the one who provides guidance and strength. And so we look towards those hills which cometh our help, and we know that our help cometh from thee. So again, O Lord, please hear our prayer. Please hear our plea. And again, we say thank you to all who have served and all who are serving. For it's in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Brown. I would like to ask you all to please remain standing as I invite up Everett police officer and a member of the United States Massachusetts Army National Guard, Captain John Michael Cristiano, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Captain?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John Michael. Please remain standing as our Everett High School band, the famous, award-winning high school band from Little Old Everett, plays our national anthem. Thank you. How about a nice round of applause for our high school team? Aren't they super? Just super. I would ask everybody to please take a seat. You know, as I previously mentioned, this year's Veterans Day is marked by the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day in the end of World War I. For me, all it takes is a drive-by Lieutenant Joseph F. Warner Park in North Everett to remind me of the selfless sacrifice and incredible service of so many thousands of Everett men and women who served this community and this great nation in the war to end all wars, namely World War I. Next up, it is my privilege and honor to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Everett and our Mayor, Mayor Carlo Di Maria.
Thank you and good morning. I want to first start with a moment of silence for firefighter Thaddeus Baxter, who passed away over the weekend. I also want to recognize that today would have been Silvio Riccio's 95th birthday, I believe. Former captain of the fire department. I also want to keep him in our thoughts and prayers today too, with his family and his wife. When I walked in early this morning, I was a little nervous. I think Jeannie was too, that the crowd was light. But I shouldn't fool myself to realize that it was early and that you're all going to be here for our veterans. And I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. I want to thank our band that truly never lets us down. Thank you for being here this morning. And the police and fire guard, thank you, gentlemen, for always being here for the city of Everett. And to our veterans, thank you for your service. Not only what you've done in the past, but what you continue to do every day, showing young people how to act and how to behave, how to carry yourselves. So I want to thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you, Gene, and welcome everyone here today as we celebrate those veterans and soldiers who protect our freedoms and values around the globe. It is an honor to stand with you all today. Today we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Veterans Day, which began on the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month, 1918, when an armistice was declared between the Allied nations in Germany in the First World War. Armistice Day then became Veterans Day, in the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, a holiday dedicated to American veterans who have served during war as well as peacetime. Everett remains steadfast and firm in its resolve to pay tribute and honor all veterans as these men and women who walk among us and those who have since passed took a piece of their lives and gave it in service to their nation. And to those veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and to those who have served our country so bravely in World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, in Lebanon, Grenada, Panama, the First Gulf War, Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia, and Kosovo, we owe a special debt of gratitude. Today, the nation's military men and women are presently engaged in the longest and most protracted war in our country's history. Since the September 11th, 2001 attacks, the United States has been fighting every single day for 17 straight years without an end in sight. To those brave men and women, we must keep them in our prayers and our thoughts. As mayor, but more importantly as a resident of Everett, it is an honor for me to be able to meet, acknowledge, and most importantly, thank our veteran community. We shouldn't just do that today, but all the days, because without your sacrifices, we would not be here. However, today I would like to recognize Sean Yeba. Where's Sean? Sean here? Is Sean? He's not here. All right. I know his mother is. I'd like to recognize Sean Yeba may or may not be here today. who is an Everett resident, a two-time Purple Heart recipient, has served 3 tours in Iraq, and is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Yeva, Mrs. Yeva, who is an instructor of the EHS band. Of course, she will be here, Penny. Sean words will not do justice the sacrifice that he has made. You, an American hero, deserve more than we can give you. Your sacrifice and losses warrant more than a warm round of applause. You are a decorated veteran, and I can't express this enough. Thank you, and thank you for your valorous actions in Iraq. Penny, please let them know we're thinking. As we honor Sean and all who have served in the military, let us also celebrate the selfless act of the Yeva family and all the family members who serve our country alongside those veterans. And I also want to recognize those of you here today and those who volunteer time here in Everett and around the country to honor and recognize American veterans. In a few minutes, we will hear from Everett residents, retired U.S. Army Commander Sergeant Major Thomas Ardita and U.S. Army Brigadier General James Voss. Thank you both for your service and being here with us today. Thank you, gentlemen. I would like to end this with a poem, In Flanders Fields, written by Canadian physician Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae during the First World War. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Thank you. Have a great day.
At this time, it is my privilege and honor to introduce to you our state senator, Sal DiDomenico. He's Everett's own state senator. He lives right here in Everett, and we're certainly delighted to have us here. He's always leading the way at the State House on the Senate side to support and promote all veterans' causes. And so we thank him for his ongoing, long-standing commitment to our veteran community. Senator DiDomenico, please come forward.
Thank you, Jeannie. Good morning, everyone. It is great to be here with all of you, with so many friends who not just support our veterans today, but all year long. As I said before, in many speeches that I've given in terms of supporting our veterans, there is not one group in this country or in the entire world that has done so much for so many than the U.S. veteran. They go in harm's way, away from their homes, leaving their families behind, to fight for the cause of freedom, but not just us, but for people around the globe. And in many cases, they get hurt, and in some cases, they make the ultimate sacrifice. This is evidenced by the white tombstones that we see in Arlington National Cemetery, and cemeteries throughout Europe, and our very own Glenwood Cemetery here in Everett. But they know that there's a risk to what they're going to do. And they willingly go and they fight all of us so we can celebrate like this in our communities across our nation. My grandfather was a veteran in World War II, and he fought for 100 consecutive days in battle. And like many veterans, he came home and didn't mention his time in the military. When we wanted to go bring him back to Italy, many years later, he said, I've seen it, I've done it, I don't want to go back. And we didn't know until he passed away the trauma that he was experiencing his entire life, like most veterans do. They keep it all inside. He was in a battle, and he was storming the shoreline. And there were 2 of his friends at either side. And as they were running towards their target, the 2 men on each side of him were shot and killed. And he kept moving forward because his mission was to complete what he was set out to do. We didn't know that story until his wake, many years later, when one of his friends told us that story, and we had no idea the trauma and what he was thinking all those years about his military experience. Now, our state is the best in the country for military benefits. Our state provides the best resources for our veterans in the entire country. There isn't even a close second. But we fail in many, many cases because even if there is one veteran who is homeless, one veteran who is experiencing trauma from their experiences in war, one veteran who cannot find a job or health care, then we have failed as a society. So we can take a lot of praise and a lot of good feeling about what we're doing for our veterans, but their mission was to complete their mission. Our mission is to complete ours, to give them what they deserve and what they need to live a life after what they've done for all of us across our nation. Norman Schwarzkopf said that the heroes are not the ones that lead our men and women into battle. The heroes are the ones that go into battle. And our heroes come from all parts of our country. They come from Massachusetts, New York, California, and they fight for not just their own state, not just the states in east, west, north, and south, or red states or blue states. They don't deal with all of that. They fight for the United States. And it's our obligation to respect that and to thank them for that. So I stand before you today as a proud member of this community, and we all know our band is here. They represent us every year in the last couple of years in Washington, D.C. One band chosen across the entire country to honor our veterans. Our very own Everett High School Marching Band is chosen 2 years in a row. The only band in the entire state of Massachusetts. So thank you to the marching band for all you do for our veterans as well. And I want to thank our public safety officials as well, because they are our heroes in our community. And I want to send my thoughts and prayers to the firefighters and the police officers for your fallen brother, Ted Baxter. It takes a special calling to be in public safety and to be in the military. Knowing what could be, and doing it willingly and doing it without fanfare. And in many times coming back to your community like my grandfather and not talking about it, not looking for a pat on the back. Just knowing that you served and it was a job well done. So I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you to Jerry and to Jeannie and for all of our veterans who are here, who always step forward when there's a time of need. And I'll end on this note. When a foreign nation sees the American flag coming into the community, when they see our military flying over them, or laying at their shores, or marching through their streets at a time of need, when they need help the most, when all else has failed, and there's nothing else that they can count on but us, the United States of America, coming to their defense. Their beacon of hope is not someone in the White House, the State House, or City Hall. Their beacon of hope is the United States veteran, the United States military personnel who are there to save them and their families. And that is who a veteran is today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you very much. God bless America.
At this time, it's my privilege and honor to introduce to you our state representative, Joseph McGonigal. Joe, like Senator DiDomenico, is every day at it, fighting, supporting, introducing new legislation that only helps our veterans more and more. He, like Sal DiDomenico, is tireless in his resolve to get the very best for our veterans. And so we thank him. I especially thank him from the bottom of my heart. Let me introduce to you Representative Joseph McGonigal.
Thank you, Jeannie, for those kind remarks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Special guests. First, let me say it is an honor for me to be standing here bringing you the greetings and gratitude from the Massachusetts House of Representatives. I myself have never served in the military, but cannot feel a sense of inadequacy standing here in the midst of you veterans, and especially being the son of a lieutenant colonel, sharing the stage with Sergeant Adida, Master Sergeant Adida, and a Brigadier General, General Voss. Thank you for being here. I am also reminded that many more fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters serve honorably today and abroad, in harm's way, and our prayers go out to you and your families. And the Senator has said it. You've heard this more than once. But Massachusetts does lead the nation for the breadth of benefits and services to all our veterans and their families. I'm extremely proud of that. So it is with great pleasure, once again, we're leading the way. And I am able to report to you that through the efforts of the Senate and myself and the legislature, and with the Massachusetts Governor, Baker, in August, he signed into law the BRAVE Act. Now, this legislation provides additional support for members of the veteran community and their families. This act includes tax credits, business credits, enhanced educational opportunities, burial expenses, court programs, and medical care, and so much more. And the BRAVE Act ensures that the Commonwealth honors the past and present veterans and their families for their bravery, their service, and their sacrifice. But we're not done. We're not done, and I know we've got a long way to go. But again, this year, the legislature also passed funding for the construction of a $199 million, 154-bed facility at the Chelsea Soldiers Home. Hurrah. Thank you, gentlemen. This community living center will provide private, home-like rooms for veterans in accordance with VA standards of design. They designed it. Our veterans had the opportunity to design this facility, which promotes greater accessibility, mobility, and an enhanced quality of life. Services will include physical and occupational therapy, recreational activities, and greater access to the outdoors. This facility is long overdue and well-deserved. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why we're here this morning. We need to serve vets as well as they served us, even when the guns have temporarily stopped firing. So no matter where they were or when they served, it is our duty to remember that they came from Everett and they are our heroes. So in closing, I thank you for according me the pleasure to participate in today's Veterans Day exercises. And once again, thank all veterans and their families for your service and your sacrifices. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative McGonigal. Before we go on to our next slot, I'd be remiss if I didn't call out the two little kids that are running around the armory. Those two little kids, their names are Yushin Cristiano and John E. Sunshin Cristiano. So please, give us I hope you have some patience, but also I'd like to acknowledge my husband that's way in the back, and as well as my daughter-in-law, Mae Young Cristiano. So thank them because they put up with me. Thank you. At this time, I would ask the Everett High School band to play a rendition of God Bless America. Could we all please stand? I think everybody, if you could all please take a seat. Before I call on our next speaker, I'd like to acknowledge a special guest here today. I think you all remember the fire on Morris Street. There's a bad fire, and one of our Everett's finest firefighters was there and was right there in the front door, and as a result of his actions, he suffered some severe burns, and we are so fortunate today to have him here with us. Lieutenant Scott Darrow. Lieutenant, thank you for your service each and every day. We're all privileged to have you with us here today. Thank you. Our next speaker certainly needs no big introduction, but I think we all know and love our superintendent of schools. One thing about Mr. Forrester is, you know, you have those core subjects that kids have to learn today, and it's usually reading, writing, arithmetic, and arithmetic. But it seems that from my close observance, there's another core curriculum that's been added, and it's been added for a long, long time now. And that core piece of the curriculum is honoring our veterans, because that's part of the core of the education our youngsters receive in the Everett Public Schools. And you know, sometimes you think, oh, these young kids, that they don't know what it's all about. Well, they know in Everett because Mr. Forrester makes sure. So I'd like to thank Mr. Forrester and invite him up to give the greetings from the Everett Public Schools. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. First of all, I do want to thank the young people from the high school and our band that have given up their morning to be here. I want to thank Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Poole, Mrs. Yeva, who is the real band, right? She runs the whole thing. But it's an honor and a privilege that these young people will represent this state on the Memorial Day Parade in Washington, D.C. In fact, the school committee is going to accept the invitation next Monday night. So I want to congratulate you and thank you. And I also want to thank the Culinary Arts program here at the high school and our students in the Culinary Arts program for helping us today and providing us with the coalition that we're going to have after. Also, I don't want to forget, he has been introduced, but I want to do it again. Lester McLaughlin, that's Lieutenant Lester McLaughlin, a very highly decorated Vietnam veteran. And if you get time, look him up and you can see what this man has done and what he's been through. So we've been together a long time and he's a great man. He's a true American hero, Lester McLaughlin. President John F. Kennedy, in his inaugural address, put the entire world on notice that he would do everything to protect our nation and its values. Let every nation know, he said, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. In that same speech, he declared, "Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans, born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today at home and around the world." That was on January 20th, 1961, 57 years ago. I remember that day in that speech as if it were yesterday. Like most people in our city at that moment, I was proud and excited that a man from Massachusetts, man of both substance and charisma, had become the President of the United States. John Kennedy was only 43 when he became president. He was the youngest person ever elected to the office. On this Veterans Day 2018, I can't help but note that John Kennedy's distinguished military service had helped to convince the American people he was ready to handle the immense duties and the grave responsibilities of the presidency. John Kennedy had been tempered by war, brutally so. The Navy PT boat he was commanding in the Pacific was sliced in two one night by a Japanese destroyer. Lieutenant Kennedy rallied the dazed and injured survivors of his crew, who were now adrift on the sea. Kennedy led his men in an hours-long swim to dry land. Almost a week later, with the help of some islanders loyal to the United States, they were rescued. For his efforts, the future president was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal in the Purple Heart. Listening to President Kennedy on January 20th, 1961, Americans were really and truly inspired. And they were made confident by the new president that America was not only capable of leading the world in thwarting its enemies, but was also certain of victory in any armed conflict that might erupt. Most of us at that time, however, did not really understand how dangerous the world was, nor did we realize how numerous and how zealous were the enemies of our nation. We did not reckon how hard it would be to hold the torch of freedom high around the globe. Looking back on the 57 years that have passed since John Kennedy's inauguration, I see how much it has cost our nation in lives and in treasure, to uphold the promise to prevent the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed. When I contemplate that cost, I can't help but shudder. The price of freedom is extremely high. I witnessed it as a young man when so many men went off to fight in Vietnam and when more than a few of them never came home. In his inaugural address, which historians consider one of the greatest inaugural addresses, President Kennedy said that since this country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. We in Everett have many reasons to be grateful that we are living at this time in this place, and that we are all a part of the great American experience. I've lived a good American life. I'm a grateful citizen of this republic. And on this Veterans Day, I want everyone to know that I am most greatly grateful to the young men and women of Everett, who, when summoned to national loyalty, eagerly answer the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Forestier. At this time, I would ask longtime Everett resident and U.S. Army National Guard Command Sergeant Major Tom Ardita, retired, to come forward. Just a little bio on Tom. Sergeant Major Tom Ardita served in the Mass Army National Guard from May of 1967 to September of 2004. Tom was the Sergeant Major of the Medical Command and the Senior Medical Sergeant Major of the Medical Command, Sergeant Major for the Mass Army National Guard. He served as the liaison to the state surgeon for all medical issues. Command Sergeant Major Ardita was a member of the leadership team that effectuated the largest deployment of National Guard soldiers in the history of the National Guard in support of our Operation Iraqi Freedom. Please join me in welcoming Sergeant Major Ardita.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Jeannie for having me today as speaker, and also distinguished guests, visitors. I would like to at this time ask our veterans to stand when our great Everett band sings their military song. So it'll be up to the band. Please have the United States Marines stand, please. Veterans. I'd like the families of the veterans to please stand. Mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, granddaughters, grandsons, wives. Just give them a round of applause. At this time, it'd be my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. Brigadier General Jim Voss, retired from the Army National Guard as a colonel after 31 years in distinguished service. General Voss is a recipient of the Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal with 5 oak leaf clusters, the Army Achievement Medal with an oak leaf cluster, Army Reserve Component Overseas Training Ribbon, the Massachusetts Desert Storm Ribbon, and the Massachusetts Emergency Service Ribbon with Silver Star. In 2003, Colonel Voss at the time was inducted into the Massachusetts Military Academy Officer Candidate School Hall of Fame. Colonel Voss accumulated his career as a Deputy Commander of the Massachusetts Medical Command and retired in 2005. Upon his retirement from the United States Army National Guard, his long and distinguished service record was recognized as in 2014, Colonel Voss was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in the Massachusetts Organized Militia. Please join me in welcoming General Jim Voss.
My speech is going to sound like I read all the other speeches, but I didn't. And I also wanted a round of applause for Jeannie. What a great organized group. And I'll get the Sergeant Major back later for inviting me here. Actually, you should all be welcoming me home here in Everett, as I was born here 68 years ago this month in the Whidden Hospital. They may call it something different now, but it was the Whidden Hospital. My 3 brothers were born here as well, so it's really a homecoming for me. How's that? I don't wear this uniform that often as I did before I retired in 2005, but I was persuaded to wear it today. For me, Veterans Day is quite different from before I joined, and the service, it will forever be changed and have a special meaning for all veterans. Memorial Day is another one that has never been the same for me since I served. It's one of those holidays that has dramatically changed its meaning for all of us as veterans. Let me explain. A couple of months ago, I addressed Gold Star Mothers of Massachusetts. A Gold Star mother is one who has lost a son or a daughter while on active duty in the service of their country. The title of Gold Star Mother is a badge no woman wants. I am continually struck by the power of the bond between bereaved parents. There's no greater bond than the connection between parents who understand the agony of enduring the death of a child. Only those who have suffered child loss understand the depth and the breadth of both the pain and the love that they carry. As a Gold Star parent, they bond together to learn to help each other continue to celebrate their son or their daughter, and to continue to speak of them often, because for them, it'll never be over. I know for sure certain veterans, this day is special for you as well. They remember how proud they were that their son and daughter, when they signed up to serve, it was tough to let them go. They, like the rest of us, long believed if you live your life as a good person, striving to make a positive contribution to the world, life would turn out just fine. They were so terrified that that final day would come. I know every holiday season is torture for them. Doesn't matter if it's been 5, 10, or 25 years later. It is truly unget-throughable to live every holiday without one of your precious children. You would give up anything than to live without your flesh and blood. The emotion is the same. All bereaved parents lose a part of themselves. How do you think their friends reacted when they learned that their son or daughter wasn't coming home? I'll tell you. Some friends expected to see a Gold Star mom constantly on the verge of tears. When a mom left the house, some people were shocked. What else did they expect them to do? Some had conclusions about how anguished her life had to be. Some others just stood in front of her and saw it. And some friends didn't know what to say, so they said nothing. And that's when a mom really needed them. Nobody understands that. As a veteran, your family was worried sick for you, but you made it home. For you that don't know, let me tell you a little bit about the military, the way it begins. In every service, they train the individual soldier. They attend basic training where they quickly find out they're not any better than the next trainee. They're taught respect for others, discipline, loyalty, and honor. If they graduate from basic training, they go into advanced individual training. They learn their specialty, and they'll perform throughout their enlistment, whether it be as a Marine, an airman, seaman, or soldier, as a cook, infantryman, mechanic, or a medic upon graduation. They're assigned to a team or a squad, and they build a cohesive unit together, and that's where they become brothers, like brothers and sisters. Each is trained. The mission comes first, and it will outweigh the personal needs of each of them as an individual. Soldiers have a responsibility to defend the U.S. Constitution and the nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. They're loyal to the Army, their unit, their fellow soldiers, and they obey the orders of those assigned over them. I am so very humbled by the presence of such brave veterans here today in this room. You all knew the risks. Taking your oath of enlistment and answering the call is when you felt like a very small cog in a very large wheel, but the truth is you did make a huge difference in the lives of people who needed help. I think it's important for civilians to see what we really do in order to best understand that things are never as the news would have you believe. More importantly, it is important for veterans like you and me and extended military families as witnesses of the global war on terror to understand that our efforts were not for nothing. Society seems to erect a strict frame of reference about what is acceptable behavior when they find out you're a veteran. I'm very proud to have each of you in my service. I know what you could do. I know because of your service, you value many things in life differently now than before you experienced the military. Some of you had some very close friends and served with that are no longer with us. I know for sure Veterans Day and Memorial Day are special for you and even very difficult. Only a veteran brother can understand your feelings. Since taking the uniform off, I know I couldn't stop serving. Neither have many of my fellow veteran members. Memorial Days have never been the same since I joined. I know Memorial Day is one of those holidays that has dramatically changed its meaning for all veterans that are tight bonds of brothers and sisters from all the services who have not forgotten the sacrifices of our soldiers. Just last month, I traveled to see my sister-in-law from California, get my nephew situated in a college, and visited the city. I had seen the videos of the Twin Towers catastrophe, and they were gruesome enough back in 2001. But standing amongst the remaining foundations of the towers, amongst the horrifying day, amongst the noisy remaining foundations of the towers, amongst the thousands of hurrying people and noisy streets, and imagining that horrifying day was just humbling. As busy as it was all around me, it just seemed quiet and serene to me. What got me the most was to see all the names of the people that perished that day inscribed in the foundation, to include whole families, expectant mothers. The military also is training for missions that include horrendous conditions, like the firefighters and the police that day. But when the training kicks in for an active mission, some of you as veterans still have a hard time not ever forgetting. For some of you, it never will be over. Yesterday was our 100th anniversary of Veterans Day. Originally, this was Armistice Day, and it is the fighting of World War I agreed to end at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Can you imagine the excitement that day that it was really over? Veterans Day is a day that we put veterans first. The veterans I know put others first. That's what they do. And as a community, we should commit to serve our veterans as well as they have served us. Did you know 22 veterans a day take their own lives? All ages, from any of our services and hostilities. I'm wearing my 22 kill ring today. This signifies the trigger guard on a handgun, and it says 22 kill, and it reminds me of my brothers and sisters that take their lives every day. So many of these veterans never recovered from invisible wounds incurred while defending us. Unfortunately, there are now younger veterans having issues they just cannot deal with. If you know one showing signs of depression, please encourage them to seek help. I can tell you that the VA may not be the answer for PTSD, but there sure is help out there. Because to them, war is not a mere history lesson or a subject of a book. The battle continues long after the service has ended and they return home. In 1915, inspired by the poem In Flanders Field, thank you very much, Moana Michaels created her own poem where she assimilates the fields of radiant red poppies to the blood shed by the war-fighting heroes. She then conceived of the idea to wear red poppies in honor of those who died during the war serving the nation. She sold poppies to her friends and co-workers, with the money going to benefit servicemen in need. I'm wearing one here today. Learning of this new custom, a Madame Guerin from France, she started making artificial red poppies to raise money for war-orphan children and widowed women, and the tradition spread to other countries. In 1922, the VFW, thank you, became the first veterans organization to nationally sell poppies. The correct way to position a poppy is to wear it on the right side at 11 o'clock to represent the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That's the time that World War I formally ended. The red represents the mourning. The red represents the blood of all those who gave their lives. The black represents the mourning of all those who didn't have their loved ones return home. And the green leaf represents grass and crops growing and future prosperity after the war destroyed so much. Popular firstly by the observance of Memorial Day, the poppy now commemorates the end of the Great War at the 11th hour, the 11th day, at the 11th month, 1918. The war on terrorism has helped us all realize how truly unique the American way of life is. The freedom we enjoy is extremely special, and that is why we must defend it. So now is the time to honor those who have fought, who are fighting for our freedom. It's also the time for each of us to take part in thanking them. But the defense of freedom is not just for those who have served in the military. Each of us shares in that responsibility. We can protect our freedom here in America simply by voting and continuing to speak out against injustices. We have to spread the word forward to ensure everyone can feel the benefits of freedom. Make sure your words and deeds in your community reflect what it means to you to be an American. We don't ever want to let our guard down. Yes, it's tough to be a Gold Star mother. It's tough for any of the families involved in the Twin Tower tragedy to continue on. Many of us as veterans are proud to have served, and we remain a tight bond of brothers and sisters from all services. But we have not forgotten the sacrifices of our soldiers and our buddies. As we honor our veterans and remember their great deeds, let us also salute those who are currently fighting for our freedom. I really am genuinely privileged to be here today, and I'm here to tell you I'm honored to address each of you, and I think I have, who took this oath of enlistment and answered the call to serve in the military. Let us each, as a veteran, stand proud to call ourselves a United States military veteran, remembering how deeply we miss our comrades that didn't make it home. And we'll never see another Veterans Day. We're here for them today. And for everyone else, make sure you thank a veteran. Thank you for welcoming me home to my birthplace. It's my birthday at the end of the month. But for the Marines, can you stand? It was your birthday, 243 years old, November 10th. Marines? Happy birthday, Marines. To all of you that are veterans, have a good Veterans Day. So to some of you older veterans, a long overdue welcome home.
If you could all please remain standing. At this time, I would call upon the band. Let's have a moment of silence, and I'd call upon the band to toll the bells 21 times in honor of the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day. Thank you. Please post colors and as the band members play taps. Thank you. That was actually Emma Santos and Sean Sheik who played the taps first. Didn't they do a great job? Let's give them a round. At this time, I call upon Bishop Brown to lead us in the benediction. Bishop Brown?
Eternal God, once again, we have entered into this place to say thank you for service. Thank you for unselfishness. And thank you for love of country. We now exit to continue in service and ask blessings upon us. So we pray that you'll bless us and keep us, that you'll make thy face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. And Lord, grant us peace, now and forevermore, as the redeemed of the Lord said, amen.
Thank you, Bishop Brown. In case you didn't notice, we have a new Bishop Brown because half of him is gone. How many pounds have you lost, Bishop? 200 pounds. Let's give him a big round of applause. Just to let you all know, this concludes our ceremony, and I invite everybody here to please stay around and enjoy the delicious pasta dinner that was prepared by us high school students. Thank you all.